Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what's up? It's your friend Dom C here with another episode of the Draft Dodgers. Got a fun one here today. Going to keep it short, sweet, and to the point. Another first-round draft, another mock draft, that is. Another first-round mock draft with trades. And most importantly, another first-round mock draft with trades with a friend of mine who has yet to make his appearance on the Draft Dodgers podcast. So I'm glad he's here. From J-Wack Gridiron on YouTube, it's Josiah. Josiah, thanks for joining me, brother.
Appreciate you for having me, Dom. We have gone back and forth for it feels like a year and a half at this point, schedule conflicts, but we finally were able to get it to work, and I'm really excited to get into this.
Yeah, me too. Before we do that, though, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about your channel and you know where they can find it, what it is, and what you do on there, and so on and so forth. Because, guys, if you're watching my channel, if you're watching the Draft Dodgers podcast, if you listen to this wherever you get your podcasts, you know that you're a draft nerd and a draft junkie. And Josiah fits in that bill too, and I say that with the utmost respect, obviously. But he is into it. He knows his stuff, and I can't wait to pick his brain here. So tell everybody where they can find your all your content.
Yeah, J-Wack Gridiron on YouTube. We do tons of mock drafts every week. We're about to start our 7-round team mock draft series, which I'm really excited to get into. And then prospect spotlights go up weekly. So we'll take a prospect, spend 7 to 10 minutes breaking down their strengths and weaknesses. We've got a TikTok over there, also at J-Wack Gridiron. You guys can find me there, but YouTube is where I do most of my stuff.
Yeah, and while you're there looking up J-Wack Gridiron on YouTube, go ahead and find Project Prospect with Dom C. Drop a follow, drop a like, hit the bell for notifications, do all that good stuff for both myself and Josiah so that the algorithm starts to like us and our content is kicked out to more of the masses. The more you can help us, the better we can help you. So
absolutely.
I appreciate that. And listen, looking forward to picking your brain a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, actually, I know I'm not mistaken. You're a Colts fan, correct?
I am a Colts fan, yes.
All right. So I'm sorry. Such a promising start. You make the trade for Sauce, all of a sudden you don't lose a game. You don't win a game after that. How about that? I'm kidding. That's a joke. I get it. But because he's a Colts fan, guys, we're going to do a little bit extra here. We're going to go through our first round mock, and then we're going to also mock for the 4 teams, the Falcons, the Colts, the Packers, and the Jaguars, where they would go in the second round, just so every fan base gets a little something going on here. And after the flip of the coin, Josiah lost, so I'm going to go ahead and take the odds here.
Okay.
Right, and I brought up our trusty PFF mock draft simulator. I'm going to enter the draft. And man, as a Jets fan, I hope come Monday morning, this is not what it looks like. I hope that we're either sitting at number 2, or if we're at 3, I'm hoping the Raiders and the Giants are flipped because I have my preference on the quarterbacks I'm going to take. But I digress. The Raiders are on the board. The Raiders look like they're going to clean house completely. The more I read, and once Diana Rossini gets her nails and her teeth sunk into some articles that go out in the Athletic, or at least put out on Twitter, usually things start to happen in a matter-of-fact way. And she came out this morning and said it's very unlikely that Pete Carroll's going to survive. They might just clean house full and all through. Now, I think they're a rebuild, these Raiders. I think they're a rebuild that's kind of not a quarterback away. However, they need a quarterback. So with the, I wish there was somebody else that I was dead set on. I wish there was a non-positional player that I could stand 10 toes and say I'm comfortable with passing on a quarterback this year, because I don't want to miss this player. There's just not one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and take Fernando Mendoza. I just think he's the best quarterback in the draft. I think he's the best processor. I think I think he throws the best anticipatory ball. I love how he adjusted from Cal, where he, improved and brought them up, and then learned a whole new system in Indiana and really brought them up. I just think right now he's one of one at the quarterback position. In another, draft class, he might not be the 1-1 pick, but in this one with the Raiders, where they are in their situation, I think Fernando is going to be the pick.
Yeah.
I leave it to you here with the Giants at number 2.
Well, just a little note on Mendoza here. I think if the Raiders do stick at number 1, which for your sake, I hope that's not the case. But if the Raiders stick at number 1, I just can't imagine Mendoza goes into those interviews, especially with Tom Brady being the man making all the decisions, and that they just don't fall in love with not just the player, but the person. I think Mendoza has all the intangibles. I love that pick at the 1-1. Here at the Giants for 2, this is really where the draft starts, I feel like. And I think there are a lot of potential trade opportunities here.
And that's where I'm going to come up and ring the bell, like a little ding, ding, ding. I wish I had a sound effect on the system, but I don't. So, if this is the situation, I think the Jets are going to probably, if I had my druthers, they're going to probably come up to get one of these two guys. Like I said, I would rather them be at 2 and not have to trade up, or have the Giants at 1 so they could trade up to really get the choice of who they want. I would think, from what I understand, from what I'm hearing on the inside, their preference would be Mendoza. They've done a lot of homework on both Moore and Mendoza. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to offer the Giants here to make the trade. And again, this is a first round mock draft, so the aspects of the trade really, really don't come into play. But I will throw back our higher second round pick this year, as well as obviously the pick swap from 2 to 3, a higher pick, which would be 35, and a day 3 pick to make that swap. What say you, Josiah?
Day 3 pick as well. I think that's a totally fair compensation. My only hesitation, do we think that the Giants are going to try and play hardball with this pick? Do you think they need to trade down in this situation? Do you think they try to get one of the first in 2027? I think that's something.
I think they could try. I think they could try.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be successful.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. So I say let's send it through. Jets move up to 2.
Yeah, let's just do this. Boom. We're going to force this trade through here. The Jets, I am going to offer 3 and 35, and we'll say 139. Their compensation pick, which is a 5th round pick. So a 1, a 2, and a 5 to move up 1 spot.
I will say for the Giants, excellent value to move back 1 spot. You probably are still going to get the player you want to get at number 3 anyways, and you add an additional second round pick to your treasure chest of picks here. So I think this makes a lot of sense for all parties involved.
Yeah. Now you're the evens, I'm the odds. This was an odd team that traded up, so I'll still take it, and you take both the Giants and Tennessee. The Jets are obviously moving up for a quarterback. It's going to be Dante Moore if he comes out. We're playing the assumption game here that he does come out.
Where are you leaning on that right now? Because it seems like if you asked me a week ago, I would have said, yeah, Dante Moore's coming out, no doubt about it. But after the Texas Tech game, there was some rumblings. Now I'm not so sure. So kind of where do you stand on that?
So I said all along, prior to Oregon losing their offensive coordinator to the Kentucky job, I said that he was going back.
Mm-hmm.
There was no doubt in my mind he was going to go back. He's only 20. People got to remember that. He's only 20. Yes, he's got, this will be his 20th start in college, but he's still only 20 years old. There's a lot of development, both physical and maturing, that needs to happen for Dante Moore. Then his offensive coordinator, leaves, and his play kind of took like an upswing. And I said, oh, maybe he will come out. If I had to bet today, I think I'm on the side that maybe he does decide to stay. Depending on what happens over the next game or two. Like if he gets blown out and he has a really poor performance against Indiana, like I think there's a true possibility that he could stay. There's a lot of guys that Bear Alexander, their big 3 tech down there. He's already returned. The center's returned. There's a lot of guys that are staying. They might just want to run it back. And listen, there's nothing to say, and I know there's the Arch Manning discussion that's going to be had, but there's nothing to say that with more development, if he gets that much bigger, that much stronger, that much, that much more mature in his game, that he still can't be the number 1 overall pick. Like, he's that talented. The arm talent is real in Dante Moore. I don't know if he's NFL game ready yet, and I don't know if the Jets are perfectly in its position. Like, I don't know if the Jets are an ideal landing spot for a guy who's, needs some, still needs a little bit of time. But for me, I'm going to bet on the talent. I'm going to bet on the talent. I'm going to bet on the arm talent. I'm going to hope that I don't have to play him all this much this year and give him that necessary time, that maturation time that he needs. He, not the greatest athlete in the world. I don't think he's a bad athlete. He's not the greatest athlete in the world. But pressure seems to get to him,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that is something that he just needs some time to work through, some reps and seeing and understanding, so on and so forth, to get away from, to what happens when he's got to break contain, or when he's got, A-gap pressure in his face, or so on and so forth, because he's cool, calm, and collected, and has no problem maneuvering around the pocket when it's relatively quiet. But once it gets muddy, the bad comes out. So Dante Moore is going to be the pick here for the Jets. I think it's a necessary evil. Listen, the Jets aren't going to go anywhere without a quarterback. So I think that, you go and get your guy here, and whether or not the coach is here next year or the year after with a guy like Dante Moore, who's only going to be 21, I think it'll be still be an attractive spot for any lurking head coaches if they do move on from Aaron Glenn after year 2, which, without improvement could be a stark reality. So,
yeah,
I'll leave you with the Giants at number 3.
Yeah, the Giants at 3. They're an interesting team because they don't have any pressing needs. The best player on the board right here for me is Ruben Bain. I don't think they're going to take Ruben Bain at number 3 after drafting Abdul Carter. I've seen Caleb Downs mocked here a few times. I can't, in good faith, draft a safety at number 3 overall with the other needs that the Giants have. So if I'm the Giants here, I am going to look at the wide receiver market. And I'm going to take my top receiver in the class, and that is Jordan Tyson. I know that there are the injury concerns with Jordan Tyson, but if you look at the injuries, they're not really related to one another. It's not like he's having reoccurring injuries. And on top of that, I think Tyson has the most well-rounded skill set of the 3 receivers. He's an incredible separator and route runner to all 3 levels of the field. I think he can work the vertical game in similar ways that Carnell Tate does, but he's a little bit bigger. He's a little bit stronger at the catch point. And even when he was on the field this past season for Arizona State, he was dominant. And I think if it wasn't for that injury, he would be viewed as the consensus top receiver. I think the Giants get a running mate next to Malik Neighbors at number 3.
Yeah, I say this about Jordan Tyson all the time. He's my wide receiver 2 in the class, but it's all 3 of them, all the top 3. It doesn't matter to me which one you prefer better or I prefer better. They're all very good. And if you had one of the others, I wouldn't question it. I think of anything, Jordan Tyson has the chance to be the alpha of this class. I don't know if Carnell Tate or Mekhi Lemon are anything ever more than a 1B or Robin to the Batman on the team. I think Jordan Tyson has the opportunity in, it's not a talent thing. If he can stay on the field and stay healthy and be put in the right system, I think you could be looking at somebody who takes the Justin Jefferson ascension. And I mean that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And then at 4, do I get 4 just to get back?
You get 4. Yep. You get
4. We got the Tennessee Titans here at 4. I kind of like what we've seen from Cam Ward over the last couple of weeks. He's looked really, really good. I think they need to continue to prioritize getting weapons around him. So we're going to take another receiver off the board here at 4. I'll take Carnell Tate here. I think he is a really good pairing with Alec Iomanor and Chimere Dike. I think that just kind of fills out this receiver group. It gives Cam Ward a vertical threat. I think that is Carnell Tate's biggest strength, is his deep ball ability. He's been phenomenal on those. Didn't have the greatest game against Miami, but is a player that I think with the season of tape he put out there at his size, at his athleticism, I think he's a great piece to fit next to Cam Ward, who loves to work out a scramble drill. And I think Carnell Tate fits that receiver room really well. So I'll take Carnell Tate at number 4.
Yeah. It's crazy that we have 2 quarterbacks and 2 wide receivers off the board, where there's been a lot of talk that maybe there's no true consensus, but the consensus best player might be, on the defensive side. Yet we've had 4 picks, 2 receivers and 2 quarterbacks, which is a lot of fun. I'm up with Arizona, and here's the conundrum I'm in with Arizona. Okay. One, we don't know what they're going to do with Kyler Murray. We don't know what they're going to do with their GM. We don't know what they're going to do with their head coach. We don't know what they're going to do with Kyler Murray. I think there's a lot of, assumption or speculation on what happens here. I think that if they're in the top 5, they are absolutely gonna hold a puncher's chance to get up with the Giants and usurp the Jets to try to trade up for quarterback if they decide to move on from Kyler. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm going to assume status quo right now with the GM and the head coach, and I'm going to draft for the team that it's constituted here. Now, I think that their biggest need is along the offensive line.
Yep.
I don't personally, and again, I should have said this is not predictive. I think this is what I'm drafting, and Josiah's drafting as what we would do.
Yeah.
I don't like any of the offensive linemen here in the top 5, top 10, top 20 probably. I'm not a big fan of this offensive line class. I don't think anybody is worthy of a top 5 pick here. So I am going to go to the defensive side of the ball, and this might be a little bit of a of a hot take. But I'm going to take Sonny Styles. Now, It's an off-ball backer. I think he's getting a lot more buzz. There's a lot more people warming up to the player that Sonny Styles is. And I think that some of the Arizona faithful are probably going to get, scared off because, God, they've tried this whole safety to the linebacker convert before. This is a different situation. This is a guy who's 6'4", 240 pounds, plays physical downhill, is as athletic as a player there is in this draft class. I think he'll fit the middle of this defense, very well. He can play in a phone booth. He can blitz for you. He can flip his hips and cover. I think he'll be a great, replacement if they move on from Akeem Davis-Gaither in the middle. If not, he'll have an opportunity to sit there and learn from him. They have some young pieces on the defense, right? They drafted Jordan Birch last year. They drafted Denzel Burke. They drafted Will Johnson. I think if you put another anchor on that defensive side, you can then focus the rest of your attention, whether it's in this draft or free agency, towards the offensive side of the ball, where some changes are going to have to be made. I get it. But I'm looking at what you're working with right now, and I can't put an offensive lineman here at 5. I just can't do it. This is what I would do. Sonny Styles for me is pretty damn close to the best player in this draft class. So he's going to be my pick for Arizona.
Yeah, I did that in my recent mock, and I think Cardinals fans are going to be scared at first, but I think Sonny Styles is the right fit for their defense.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it's a very similar conversation at pick 6 for the Browns to exactly what we just talked about. But I would say a little bit different. I don't really know that Cleveland has many holes on the defensive side of the ball that they can take an Arvell Reese or a Reuben Bain to just plug in. I have thought about taking Reuben Bain here a few times to put on the opposite side of Myles Garrett. I'm not going to do that here. I think I am a little bit – I view the offensive line class a little bit differently than you. And I think at Cleveland, this is where I think you have to start considering it. I don't know if any of their 5 starters will be back next year.
Correct. There's none under contract.
Yeah. And I think they are in desperate need to go out and get some sort of offensive lineman. You have to be able to protect. Because I think if this offensive line was at least serviceable, this team would be picking in the mid-teens. Their defense is fantastic. I'm going to go with He's my offensive tackle too, but I think he's probably the best and most well-rounded lineman in the class, and that is Francis Mauigoa out of Miami. I just think the versatility he can bring for Cleveland is very valuable. He can play tackle for you, where he has been fantastic. He's coming off an incredible game against Ohio State, but I think he's got the flexibility to kick inside at guard at the next level as well. There are areas of his game that I do have questions about, but I think here for Cleveland, you've got a guy that can play up and down the line of scrimmage. I think he can be a great athlete in the zone scheme that Stefanski likes to run. I think there are some questions with his anchor and overall play strength, but for this scheme with his athleticism and size, I like what Mauigoa can do, whether it be at tackle or at guard.
Yeah, I think in this situation, I'm like you. Mauigoa is not the first offensive lineman, my highest graded one. But I think this is the perfect fit for him because you can try him at right tackle.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, you kick him into right guard because they don't have either of them right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's no better fit for Mauigoa than I think the Browns. So if it doesn't happen here, it happens with their later pick, which we'll talk about. Leaves me up with Washington. And this is an interesting one because again, I think that you're going to probably be looking at some wholesale changes for this Washington coaching staff, right? Defense coordinator Joe Witt probably out the door. I've heard, excuse me, rumblings that Cliff Kingsbury could be out as well. I love I'm not going to pick him here, but I do want to give kind of like a special little note. I love the fit of Mekhi Lemon to the Washington command. I once said Redskins Commanders. You got McLaurin and you got Debo. They're both over 30. You need an influx of young talent in there. McLaurin's signed a long contract. Debo, I don't see him being here much longer. So Mekhi Lemon is a honorable mention here. Excuse me, but for me, this is where I'm gonna have Arvell Reese come off. He's the clone of Micah Parsons, and to me, I think it's probably the closest thing that we've seen to Micah Parsons is his skill set that Arvell has. I'm sure it's going to be more edge rush and kind of rover, kind of cover that rover linebacker rushing from all, or the Joker, I should say, rushing from all over the place, from the middle, from the outside, so on and so forth. Then he is going to play true off-ball backer, but in situations where he needs to, say they want to bring some sort of zone blitz or something like that, he can drop back. He's got the understanding, he's got the wherewithal to do it. I think he needs to pack on a little extra muscle if he's going to play edge full-time year-round. But I think Dan Quinn's going to love to have a movable chess piece / Joker backer like Reese on the docket, in kind of reminiscent of his days in Dallas with Micah Parsons. So it's an easy fit for me here. I think you can make an argument for Mekhi Lemon. I think you can make an argument for Ruben Bain if you want to be a little bit more traditional, but I just love the fit of Arvell Reese with Dan Quinn. So that's going to be the pick. You're up with Saints.
Yeah, I think that's another really fun fit. He's had some rough weeks over the last month or so, but I think that the strength and the athleticism, he's going to get drafted in the top 10, I think, without a doubt. At 8 for the Saints, there are a couple of scenarios I'm thinking. I typically will go with one of the pass rushers, whether that's David Bailey or Ruben Bain. I think both of them are really, really good players in very different ways. I've heard some Saints fans say Jeremiah Love is a potential fit. I don't see that as much of a need. And then I think they could trade down, but I don't really see any teams that would move up here. I thought Tampa, but I don't think they're going to make an interdivisional trade. So I'll stick and pick here at 8, and I'll change this up a little bit from what I usually do. I will take David Bailey. I think as a pure pass rushing prospect, he is the best one in this draft. He can do everything for you from a pass rush standpoint. The bend, I think he's got inside spin moves. He can win with speed and power, and he is so good in one-on-one pass rush situations. We saw it against Oregon in the college football playoffs. this guy has been so productive this year for Texas Tech. And for New Orleans, Chase Young's had a really good season quietly. You now get another guy on the opposite side of him. And now the offense, I think, looks pretty good. I think they're going to add some receivers later on. But getting a dynamic, elite pass rusher to this group, I think could elevate this defense even more. So I'll take David Bailey at number 8.
Yeah. Interesting. I like it. I just think, and this is my personal opinion, I think I think David Bailey right now is still, in my eyes, more designated pass rusher than he is 3-down player, which is a tough sell for me in the top 10, but he can get at it. That's for sure. I love it. I love it. So I'm up with Chiefs. Yeah, I need it. I swallowed something and it just went down the wrong way, man. The Chiefs are in an interesting situation because what happens with Travis Kelce? And no, I'm not drafting a tight end right now, so I'll just say that. But what happens with Travis Kelce, right? They have 3 of their 4 active running backs have expiring contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, not really, dedicated, heavy, workload pieces in the wide receiver room, but they're gone as well. Rashee Rice can't seem to stay on the field for one reason or another. So could it be an offensive draft for the Chiefs? I heard a lot of people love Jeremiah Love here. I'm going to pass on it, and I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to do something that that probably might be a little reachy if you do, but I don't know what happens with Trent McDuffie next year, right? And without Trent McDuffie, you're relying on like Noel Williams, who I loved coming out of Cal last year, and he's got he's got that long build press man ability that Spagnuolo wants in his corners, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to put somebody on the opposite side who I think has those same, has that same skill set, right? A little bit shorter, a little bit more stout, but really has stepped up this year and become probably one of, if not the best cornerbacks in the country after transferring out of Virginia Tech. That's Mansour Delane from LSU.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know, like I can't take another wide receiver here because I think that if you bring in a Mekhi Lemon, he's kind of you have Rashee Rice to run in the slot. You have a Xavier Worthy. I need a different type of receiver. It's too early for me for a tight end. It's too early for I even thought about maybe this is the Caleb Downs spot. I'm just not sold on running backs in the top 10. I'm going to take my chance, and I'm going to take a guy in a position where I think that they're going to need the help, and that's Mansour Delane. Press man ability, out the wazoo. I think he's got, he's very versatile. He can drop off in zone. He puts his head in there, not afraid to tackle on the perimeter too. Mansour Delane is a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a great pro, and I think he'll love Kansas City and Spagnuolo's defense.
I've not seen that one very much, but I think that's a really good scheme fit. I'm a huge fan of Mansour Delane as well. I like that a lot. At 10 for the Bengals, they would think about Mekhi Lemon here at 10. Like they're looking at that as to fill out that receiver trio. I'm not going to do that. They still have massive needs on the defensive side of the ball. And my number 1 player in the draft is still on the board, and that is Ruben Bain Jr. Yep. Kind of the complete opposite to what they did with Shamar Stewart last year. Shamar Stewart, very long, very unproductive. Ruben Bain, very productive, short arms. I think Ruben Bain is fantastic. As a pass rusher, he's dynamic. I think he's got the best set of pass rush moves of all of the edge rushers. But I also think his ability to defend the run is the most underrated aspect of his game. I think you stick him at edge. He has given me no reason to believe he can't work as a edge rusher. And I've seen a lot of people talk about kicking him inside. I like him as an edge rusher. They're probably losing Trey Hendrickson. You now have a young group of pass rushers that I think you can build off of. Shamar Stewart's shown promise as of late, but I think Ruben Bain can be that dynamic pass rush winner that you're looking for. So for Cincinnati, I'll take him at 10.
Yeah, I think Ruben Bain, I love the way you explained him opposite of Shamar Stewart and how they could work well together. But I think the beautiful thing about Bain is I don't think he has to stay out on the edge, in 7 or 9. I don't think he has to go down and become an interior guy and play 3 all the time. I think he could start on early downs outside, and you kind of reduce him down as you get into the pass rush, into the down and sets, so that maybe sometimes he is rushing from the inside on pass downs, and that's okay. You know what I mean? That if that's where he's going to be most beneficial to you, I have no problem with that. So, I'm up Miami. A lot of issues here. A lot of issues in Miami. Salary cap being one of them. They need a quarterback, it seems. I don't know how you feel about Quinn Ewers, but not a fan. They're obviously going to move on from Tua Tagovailoa, unless they kind of just resurf it next year. I don't know what's going to happen with that. There's not a quarterback here that I'm worth taking for me. I just don't know, with all the other issues and holes on the team, I don't know if reaching for, whoever your quarterback 3 is, if it's Ty Simpson or whomever it is, would be the right thing to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the best player available at a position of need. And it's interesting because, again, it's some don't value it much as a position, but they're going to need to put bodies on the field, right? And both of their safeties are gone next year. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and take Caleb Downs. I'm going to let him replace Melifonwu at the strong safety. And you drafted Dante Trader last year out of Maryland, who can step in and play some of the free safety or the post. That Ashton Davis kind of took that role this year. Maybe they bring Ashton Davis back again cheap next year, and you have a 3-man rotation of those guys with Minka still staying down in the nickel. There's not a lot to say about Caleb Downs. Arguably, some will argue he's the best overall player, best talent in the draft. I think he's a safety, and I think that his game is very good for a safety. I don't know. I think you could poke some holes in some of the stuff. Like, I think he's probably more of that. Not even like that overhang. He's probably more of your traditional box guy, or that sub, that dime linebacker. You want him up and around the line of scrimmage. I think that's where he'll affect the game most. And I think that's where he can be most aggressive, fit in the run. And not really having to flip his hips and run with wide receivers, but more so taking out tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. So Caleb Downs is going to go to Miami, and you're up with the Rams.
I think the Rams are the toughest team to draft for in the league right now because they have such a good, well-rounded roster where there's not really a lot of needs on this team. You could upgrade the right tackle spot, but they've gotten some really good play as of late from who's their starting right tackle right now? I'm blanking on his name, but he's been playing really, really well for them. I would have taken Caleb Downs here if he was on the board, but I'm not. Obviously, he's not on the board.
Warren McClendon.
Yes, Warren McClendon. Thank you.
You got it.
He's played well as of late. I think you could probably get maybe another tackle at their other first-round pick. I'm going to take a corner here. I'll take Jermod McCoy out of Tennessee here at 12. He didn't play at all this year, but if you go back to his 2024 tape, probably the best corner in this class if he was fully healthy. He checks every box that you look for in a boundary corner. From a size standpoint, he's 6 foot, 193 pounds. I think he's got good tackling ability. He's got speed to defend the deep ball. He's smart in zone coverage. He's physical in press coverage. I think he checks every box you look for in a starting corner. And I think the Rams are a team that kind of can afford to take a swing on McCoy. Like, the injury concern is there. He's coming off a torn ACL, which isn't a death sentence anymore. But I think he is a guy that can, if he hits, you could have one of the best corners in the league. The Rams don't need this to hit necessarily, but I like McCoy a lot here. And I think this is a team that can afford to take a 12.
Yeah. I thought about McCoy at 10, and McCoy very well may be the first corner off the board. But I wanted to pay the respect, I think, that I thought that Mansour Delane needed, and the fit that he had. Listen, McCoy, I think if he's healthy, you're talking about him in the, easily in the, in the discussion within the first 5 picks of this draft class. Let's see him come back. From what I understand, he could have come back this year, but they thought it was best to kind of just ride it out, get healthy, and get ready for the NFL. So I'm up with Tampa here, and I'm going to go ahead and incite my own trade, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Yeah. I'm going to try. I'm going to get a little feisty here. Not really. Not. It's not a big jump. But you look on this board, right? You look on the board, and I'm thinking about Tampa, right? And I think cornerback is definitely in play, although they drafted Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish last year in rounds 2 and 3. So they spent a lot of capital in the beginning, early capital, high capital on the DBs last year. So I just don't know. I think they need a linebacker. I think that they need to replace Servassier Dennis. I don't know if I'm ready to anoint CJ Allen or Anthony Hill or Jacob Rodriguez, for Christ's sakes. I don't know if I'm ready to anoint them right now as top half of first round drafts. I don't mind them in the bottom half of the first round, which may be a little foreshadowing here. But that might be a little bit too rich. But you look at the board on what we have floating around here, and it comes down to, is there a team that will be desperate enough to jump up for Jeremiah Love? And I think there's one, and I'm going to make the trade with them. And that's the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to come up 4 picks to get their guy. I don't know what it's going to cost. Do you want to say it's is a second rounder too rich? Is a third rounder too much for 4 picks? I'm going to say 2/3. Come up 4 spots. A third in this round, a third in this year, and a third next year. How's that?
That should work. I think the value checks out there. I like that deal for Minnesota.
And Minnesota's on the clock, and I pretty much already told you what I was going to do. It's going to be Jeremiah Love. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be next year over here in Minnesota, right? And whether or not you're on board with team JJ McCarthy or not, I think if you are, I think the easiest way that you can help him is give him more weapons, give him a reason to not be the focal point of every defense coordinator in the league. Jeremiah Love gives you that home run ability. I love the way he, works in space. He's got good contact balance. He is the number 1 prospect for me in this entire draft class.
Wow.
I think that it's a position of need, obviously, and I think what he can do in opening up that offense for not only JJ McCarthy but for the receivers as well, for TJ Hawkinson, is going to do a whole heck of a lot of good for the team. So Jeremiah Love is going to be the pick.
Yeah, I like that. Do you think he's a better prospect than Ginty was last year?
He graded out a little bit lower than Ginty did for me. But that, to me, that's more so to say about how I graded out this class. Like I don't have a blue chipper in this class. I only have, I think I have a dozen, maybe 13 or 14 first round grades total. I'm not a huge fan. So I think that Minnesota is going to go and, people are going to listen. They have cap issues. They have offensive line issues. They might have some defensive holes and stuff like that they need to fill as well. But I think if you're really trying to support the quarterback, right, give him some more opportunity to get some attention off his back. Let him lean on it and let Jeremiah Love carry the offense for a little while, if need be, or at least be something that they have to key on to open it up for JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I love the pick. At 14, we got the Cowboys here. They're in an interesting spot. I don't really love the way the board fell for him. I would have loved to take one of the corners. They're off the board. I would have loved Jeremiah Love here. They're off the board. I think the pass rushers, like I still like Keldrick Folk a lot. I think a
Yeah.
lot of the consensus has kind of sold. I still think he is a really good player that can. I mean, Michael Williams went, what was it, 11 last year? I think Keldrick Folk is a better player than Michael Williams is. I would consider him at 14, but I am going to do a trade down with myself also here.
Okay.
What is with the Pittsburgh Steelers? They're picking at number 20 here. I think that they're going to give up 20. They're going to give up Dallas's third round pick back that they got from the George Pickens trade. So I think Dallas gets back a third round pick here, and that will be for number 14. And I'm going to have Pittsburgh come up for Mekhi Lemon. They need another receiver in this group that has been very apparent all season long. DK Metcalf, even when he was on the field, I don't think he was all that great for them this year. They've got a lot of just wide receiver fours trying to fill spots, whether that's Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson or whoever it may be. They've tried to plug that hole. I think Mekhi Lemon is a very good player. He's a top 10 player on my board. I get the size concerns, but this guy, he reminds me of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jackson Smith and Jigba in ways that he's such a good and creative route runner. He seems to always get open. He plays physical for his size. He's able to win the 50-50 balls, had a 66.7% contested catch rate this season. Like, this is a guy that I think can be a number one if, like, as a slot guy, which there's not many of those guys that you can say. I really like Mekhi Lemon. I think Pittsburgh needs to make a splash, and I think the gap between Mekhi Lemon and the next best receiver is pretty big. So I'm going to have them trade up for Lemon.
Yeah, they need they need some help on that at the wide receiver position. I actually thought you were going to trade up for Ty Simpson here. I did. I really thought that was going to be the play, but Lemon makes sense as well. And I don't care that he's small. I mean, that guy's a dog. He's physical. He in the perimeter as a stalk blocker too. I think he can really help the team. He's Amon-Ra St. Brown Jr., man. That's exactly, to me, that's exactly what he is. And I'm up with Detroit. You look at this Detroit roster, and when I was thinking about this, I'm like, where are the real holes on this team? Look, because first off, other than San Francisco, I don't think there's another team that's been more injured than Detroit. So you look at the roster now, and you look at it at the beginning of the season, it looks like a whole different thing, whole different mess. I think they could use another receiver. I don't know how much they plan on putting Isaac Tesla out there. I don't know if he's just, if they see him more as a gadgety kind of big slot guy, or if he's really going to be in the mix, in 11 personnel as their third receiver. I would probably bring another receiver in. I think they need some offensive line help as well, and some depth for sure. Last year they spent the first round pick on Tyreek Williams. I don't ever remember him seeing the field this year. It's been crazy. I think they need linebacker help too. I don't know which way to go. I'm going to go. Here's what I'm going to do. I know exactly what I'm going to do. This is going to be early, right? But this is what I would do. I'm going to go draft Vega Ione from Penn State. I'm going to play him at right guard, and I'm going to move Tate Rowledge over to center, and just tell Graham Glasgow is fine, or maybe maybe Ione will play right guard and Tate Rowledge move over to left guard, because Christian Mahogany is kind of a little slow to the go these days. It's not picking up as the prospect that we thought he was coming out of Boston College a couple years ago, but man, Ione is a powerful son of a gun. And you play him at right guard, right next to Penei Sewell. When you need a yard or two or three or four, you could just line up and move behind those two guys. The power he brings through his, from the ground, through his hips, through his hands, he just displaces guys. A true gap blocker, which in their offense is what they're going to want to establish with the run game. So Vegaone is going to be the pick here, and it leaves you up with the Ravens.
The Ravens here at 16. I think this is a pretty easy pick, to be honest, for Baltimore. I think they sprint in the card for Peter Woods. Peter Woods did not have the season that many were expecting. Peter Woods came into the year as I think he was my number 2 player on my board. I have him now at number 12, so he's dropped a little bit, but the guy has first round traits. He is ridiculously explosive. He's got great size for a 3-tech. And I think he is a damn good run defender. This guy is fantastic at closing run gaps and moving laterally. The pass rushing did not have the season that I think he expected, just an 8.4% pass rush win rate in 2026, which for a defensive tackle isn't the worst, but this was a guy that we expected to do better. Woods is a guy that can immediately be your Madubuike replacement. I don't know what the neck injury is looking like, but it doesn't look good for him. I don't know what his timetable is like. They can get another 3-tech in there, a guy that has a ridiculous amount of upside. And if he can get back to that 2024 version of himself, you're getting a discount on this player. So I'll take him at 16. I think he's still a very good player that can bring a lot to this Ravens defensive front.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I think he wasn't terrible this year. I think I think the sum of all the parts of Clemson, everyone looked worse than they really were. I think, like I talked about this yesterday with, I was on a show talking about quarterbacks. I talked about it a lot about Cade Klubnik. I said, I don't think he wasn't as bad as people made him out to be. I just don't know if he stepped up and was able to really take that next step and carry a team that was in disarray and in shambles. Yeah. And I kind of think the same thing about Peter Woods and TJ Parker for that matter. You expected them to come out and prove that they were top 5, top 10 talents, and neither of them did. They just kind of stayed status quo,
Yeah,
So
I agree.
And I'm up with the Bucks. Again, I kind of talked about what I think they need. I think they need a pass rusher, right? There's not a pass rusher. I'll say this. There's not a true pass rusher. Well, I really like R. Mason Thomas. This is way too early for him. I think Keldrick Falk. I don't know if he's, I think he's more of your 4-eye or your 5-tech in that defense. He's not a guy that's going to get at the passer. However, they do have David Walker coming back off an injury last year, so he might be that kick in the pants that you need to get at the quarterback. I'm going to go back to what I'm comfortable with here and what I talked about before. I think they're in desperate need of a middle linebacker, because Levante David has got to be as old as us, and Servassier Dennis just isn't cutting it. So like it or not, we're gonna have 2 off-ball backers off the board before pick 20. And it's going to be C.J. Allen. The guy's just good. I don't care where you're playing. You can play him at Mike. You can play him at Will. I think he's just a ball player. He's compact. He flies around the field. He fits the run. He can stack and shed. He can blitz, which is going to be a staple of a Todd Bowles defense. We know that. And I think he just, he kind of brings a little bit more ability in pass coverage than Servassier Dennis does, especially in, if he's got to flip and run. I think C.J. Allen can do that a little better. I think Anthony Hill could probably do it a little better than C.J. Allen, but I think C.J. Allen overall is the better athlete, the better talent. So he's going to come off the board here for Tampa Bay at 17. And you are up with the Jets. Don't screw this up, man.
A lot of pressure here. You've said it. You could pretty much throw a pin at any player, and it will be a decent pick for the Jets, as long as it's not a significant reach. 2 guys that have my eye here are Avion Terrell, the corner out of Clemson, and Caden McDonald, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State. I think those are the 2 players I've narrowed it down to. For McDonald, I think he is a really good nose tackle. He's an incredible run defender, great size, really strong at the point of attack. He brings you nothing as a pass rusher, which I think is okay, but I feel all right about the Jets defensive tackle room, at least enough to not take one in the first round. I think secondary is a bigger need. Obviously, this is the pick that they got from trading Sauce Gardner. So they need a corner there. You've gotten some okay play from Azareye'h Thomas, but it's not been anything wonderful. I still really, really like Avion Terrell as a prospect, and I think I will take him here. He is a really good corner. He is a little bit smaller, 5'11", 180 pounds, but excellent closing speed and athleticism in the open field. But I think my favorite thing and why I actually really like his fit, if Aaron Glenn is back for another year, they play a lot of man and they like to bring different unique blitzes. Avion Terrell is great in man coverage, and he is one of the best downhill run defending corners in the class. Forced a bunch of fumbles throughout his time at Clemson. I think now you've got a guy that, whether he plays on the boundary or slot, he can be a playmaker for this secondary, can make plays. I'm a big fan of his overall athleticism. His ball skills are elite, and I think he's disciplined in coverage. So I think he checks a lot of boxes. I still think he is a top 10 player on my board, and I will take Avion Terrell at number, what is this, 18?
18, yeah.
I'll take him at 18.
Yeah, love Avion Terrell, the player. Don't love it for me as a Jet fan personally. Like I said, and I would listen, if he's the pick, I wouldn't be upset at all, because you want to build a good nucleus of young, talented players. And I think with Azareye'h Thomas, I think with Jarvis Brownlee Jr., who they acquired from Tennessee mid-season, and Avion Terrell, I think you have a good young nucleus of cornerbacks that are all 20 that will be 23 years old and younger. So that's fine. I just think for me, I think the cornerback room is deep. I think you can probably address that later on, but I digress. You were picking, and I'm not going to be upset about it. I'll beat you up after the show. I'll do that. Yeah. I'm up now with Carolina. Carolina. What am I going to do with you, Carolina? I know what I'm going to do with you. This is kind of a no-brainer for me, right? I'm assuming the whole coaching staff, is returning and is, kind of intact.
Yeah.
So you look at that. You look at the defense, right? And they got a bunch of those. They spent some money and spent some capital and got some good pass rushers last year. Nick Scorton, Princely Umamielen. They drafted a safety, early in day 3 in Lathan Ransom. I'm going to go ahead and take Kedrick Falk here, and I'm going to play Kedrick Falk at the 5 tech. And in this odd man front, he's playing the opposite of Derek Brown, and I think that you could do a lot worse than Kedrick Falk in this situation. And in pass rush situations, you want to rush him from the in. You want to pop him outside. Probably not, but you want to rush him from the inside, and you want to have him inside with Derek Brown and Nick Scorton and Princely Umamielen on the outside. Like, who are you going to stop? You go, tell me who's going to be the one that you focus on. That's a lot of fun for a Carolina defensive coordinator right there.
Yeah, I like Folk. We talked about it earlier. He's still a player I really like. I think he's a great fit in Carolina. At 20 for the Cowboys, the first of 2 back-to-back picks, I think they have to completely overhaul this secondary. They cut Trayvon Diggs. Deron Bland has not been good this year. I still really love Savone Revel. I think he's got a lot of potential on the boundary. But adding another boundary corner here, I think, is really important. I'll take Colton Hood out of Tennessee. I think he's a really good player.
I love Colton Hood. Love Colton Hood.
Yeah, I think this is a guy that's got excellent fluidity. He's just such a fluid mover for the position. There's really no other way to put it. Good coverage skills. He's physical as a press defender. He's a high motor player that shows a lot of effort defending the run. I think he could tackle a little bit better. I don't know that he is going to test off the charts, but the guy's a good football player. He's smart. He's instinctive. He's fluid, checks a lot of those boxes, and I think he fits If Eberflus is back, I think this is the perfect corner for Eberflus's defense. If he's not back, well, I still think this is a guy that can do a little bit of everything for you in the secondary. So I'll take Colton Hood at 20.
Yeah, I love Colton Hood. I don't think he gets enough respect. With Jermon McCoy out there in Tennessee, out for the season, like he stepped up and really showed up. You know, we talked about what Klubnik and TJ Parker and Peter Woods weren't able to do with Clemson by really taking that step up, you know, under adversity. Colton Hood did the opposite. You know, he stepped up and then some and has earned this top 20 spot. Love the player. Film was filthy. I love the fit as well. I'm up with the second of Dallas's first round picks here. Keep it short and sweet and keep it simple. I mean, let's see. I don't know what they're going to do with George Pickens. I'm assuming they're going to either tag him or keep him long term. So that's the assumption that I'm working at under here. I think running back is a really big need, but I don't think there's anybody else outside of Love that you reach for in round one. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Spencer Fano, who's my tackle one off the board.
Mine too.
Yeah, and you know, probably he's going to spot right in Terrence Steele's spot at right tackle and playing right next to Tyler Booker. Again, gives you opportunity to, you know, have, you know, a third first round selection on, you know, on the line. Fano's very versatile. You know, some think that he might be a guard too. I'm fine. You want to play him at guard? You pop him over there, you know, and keep Tyler Smith at left tackle. I don't think that's ideal. I think that Fano can come in and really solidify the right side of that offensive line. I love the way he moves. You know, I wish his anchor was a little bit better. But which is why I said, like, I'm not a big fan of this offensive line at all, which is why my first tackle wouldn't come off the board until top 20. But this is a fit that works and a place where I'm comfortable taking a tackle. You're up with the Chargers, my friend.
Man, the Chargers, they got two needs. They need a guard and they need another guard. So we're going to take a guard here at 22. We'll take my top guard, which is Emmanuel Pregnon out of Oregon. He's just such a fun offensive lineman. I know a lot of the attention goes to Vega in this group, but I think Pregnon is the better overall athlete of the two. I think he's a more consistent run blocker. I think he connects better at the second level, and I think he is just as good as a pass protector as Vega. He's such a good player. I think he is going to shoot up draft boards as time goes on because there are a lot of guard-needy teams around this 22 to 32 range, and I think he is, in my opinion, the best one of the bunch. He checks a lot of physical boxes, 6'5", 318, comes with a ton of experience at the collegiate level. I think there are some balance concerns. He's got to be better at not being so soft on his inside shoulder. But if he can do that, I think this is a guy that can really, really help the Chargers long term. So I'll take him at 22.
Yeah. Some are going to say it's a little early for Pregnon. You know, he's an older prospect. That's true. But there's probably no interior guy. Maybe Connor Lew, if you want to talk about Connor Lew, that has really improved, like literally improved. When you watch film from 24 to 25, it's night and day with Pregnon. So yeah, I'm fine with him being here in the first round. You know, and I'll pour a little bit out for my homie Mekhi Becton, who just didn't work in LA. He was just flat out bad there.
No.
So I'm up with the Bills. The Bills are in an interesting spot too because I think they're done with the Keon Coleman experiment.
Yeah,
I really do. But the other guy, so I'll keep it a buck with you. I am not. I might be one of the few. I am not sold that Denzel Boston is going to be able to, you know, take a real good, effective next step from college to the pros. I think that they're going to. Good. I'm glad to hear that. I think that people in the Bills organization might look at another Keon Coleman here, right? Guys, big, athletic, hot, you know, long at the catch point, physical through the catch point, good 50-50 stuff, good goal line, can't separate. I'm afraid that that's what Denzel Boston's going to turn out to be. So I just don't think that he's going to be the guy here for Buffalo. Now, when I look at my board, the next couple receivers that I have off the board, I don't have another first round graded receiver. I have my board next off the board would be Jeremy Bernard, who I think, and then KC Concepcion. I think those guys are kind of already on the field, on the roster already in what they have in Khalil Shakir. So I don't know if wide receiver is the way I'm going to go. So I'll probably go towards the defensive side of the ball. And this might be overkill because I think that they spent a lot of capital last year, a second rounder and a fourth round in the interior. But I think I'm going to take another interior guy. TJ Sanders is a nice player, but I think he's kind of actually, I can't do that because they got Ed Oliver still coming back from injury and he's under contract. I got to take an edge rusher here, man.
Yeah.
I got to take an edge rusher. That's what I'm going to have to do. And I'm going to take my next rated edge rusher, who is TJ Parker.
Okay.
TJ Parker's my edge 4 in the class. Like I said, I don't know if he did himself any favors this year, but you talk about the ability to play 3 downs, at 6'3.5", almost 270 pounds. I think he shows that he can do that. It was a first team all ACC. It just seems like, it was last year. It seems like it was so long ago though, but it wasn't. It was only 13 games ago. Right. But keeps his pads low. I love the hand usage. I think he's just sometimes, he's just a little lethargic. And that's what I saw a lot this year. It's just a little lethargic. Like there's no giddy up. He doesn't, the first step is like stagnant. He takes a lot of false steps. That's stuff that's going to hurt him there. I think he just needs to be cleaned up. Right. And if he's cleaned up, I think he can be effective. But they need some depth. They need some bodies in there. So, the options for me were to go pure DPR in an R. Mason Thomas, and I'd rather go the well-rounded TJ Parker to play opposite of Greg Rousseau. So you're up again with the Rams.
And just to touch on that Denzel Boston thing, I still think he can be a good receiver. I'm just becoming less and less convinced on him in the first round. Like early in the second, I'll take that swing. But at 23 for Buffalo, 25 for Philly, we'll probably have the same conversation. I just don't see it there. Before the Rams here at 24, we took Jermod McCoy earlier for them. We talked about maybe being able to get your right tackle, a developmental guy in the building here later. I don't love the way the board fell, but I will take Caleb Lomu. I think he has a lot of developmental traits. I know he is a left tackle, but I don't have any issues with him converting to the right side here. The guy has really good pass protection tape. I think in a vacuum, he might be the best one-on-one pass protector in the draft. 6'6", 304 pounds, really good hands, counters well, picks up blitz as well. He's got athleticism. If this guy can clean up some of the run blocking inconsistencies that he has, I think you could have a franchise tackle here. And for the Rams, you get a young guy that you can develop, still an underclassman, so you feel pretty good about that. I like Lomu a lot. A lot of people's number 1 tackle. I've got him at number 3, but I think here at 24, it's good value for him.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit lower on Lomu. No, I'm not. I'm at 4. He's my OT4. I thought I had moved Cage Casey above him after I got through his film, but no, he graded out just under him. So, listen, if you're comfortable with taking the shot and moving him over to flip sides, I think it's easier to go from left to right than it is from right to left.
Yeah.
So I like that, and he's not in a spot or a position where he's forced to step in and play right away either. Yeah. So you got some time with Lomu, who's a good athlete. I'm up here with the Eagles. This one for me is going to be kind of easy and kind of quick. Again, it might not be as easy or quick when that really comes on the clock in April, because there's a lot of moving parts that could happen in Philly, right? I think AJ Brown is the biggest elephant in the room. Is he going to be on the roster? Because if he's not, he's probably needs to be replaced ASAP. But again, I can't here in January assume anything in terms of roster moves. I'm not going to assume this guy's here, this guy's cut. I'm just going to assume the roster is what it is. And what I do know is that the Eagles like to run a lot of 12 personnel. And I'm not sure how much Dallas Goedert has left. So this is the Kenyon Sadiq spot for me.
Okay.
I just love him. Listen, I think he's a better blocker than he gets credit for. I think he does a good job on those reach blocks and those second level stuff. I think he's better than what he gets credit for. And if he can really kind of put his head and his heart in the same spot, like he's athletic as they come, and it seems that sometimes it almost seems, and I'm not suggesting this, but it almost seems that he's like not trying, you know what I mean? Like if the effort ever matches the talent, I think you're going to be talking about a top 5 tight end in the league.
Yeah.
And I love him. I love him going up the seam. I love giving that, that extra boost that he has, because he can run by, he'll be able to run by. I think he's going to test very fast, and I think he'll be able to run by safeties and linebackers in the next level. So this is a good pairing for me. Sadiq is an Eagle, and you're up with Houston.
Yeah, the Texans on the board, they need another guard or a center. I love Connor Lew. I don't know how you feel about Lew. If he was healthy all year, this would be the easy pick. I just don't know, coming off that injury, how to feel. And the only other name that I could consider here on the offensive line would be taking Caden Proctor and moving him to guard, which I'm not going to be the team to make that move. I'm just not a believer in Caden Proctor's skill set translating well to the next level at all. So I still think this team could upgrade the interior of their defensive line. It's good. It's not like the level of the rest of their defense, I guess. I'll take Caleb Banks. I'll take a swing on Caleb Banks, one of the most physically dominant players in the class. Only played in, 3 games this year? I know the grades aren't going to reflect it on PFF, but this guy was a difference maker for the Florida front when he was on the field. Incredibly explosive, some of the strongest hands you're going to see from a defensive tackle. I think he can win as a pass rusher one-on-one. Just another body up on that Houston front. I think this guy is – I mean, if he played the full season, we probably would be talking about him over Peter Woods at this point, but he obviously had some injury concerns. I think Banks is very good, and Houston gets him at 26.
Yeah, Caleb Banks is the truth. And I think people, because he didn't play a lot this year, people don't know or don't really know what his game is about. I could see him going a lot higher than this. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's in the top.
If he tests well, which, I mean, he's going to test well, I think. I think we'll have the top 20 conversations with Caleb Banks for sure.
Yeah. I'm up for Cleveland, and I'm trying to remember, it was you took Maui Noah last time with Cleveland, right?
Yes.
Okay. That makes it a little easier because I was struggling on who I would take on the offensive line. And listen, if they doubled up on the offensive line here, I wouldn't necessarily be all that mad. I don't think a lot of Cleveland fans would be all that mad, right? But the next guy I would take, who's my tackle too, I just don't know if he's going to come out yet, or if he said anything. And that's Gooseby from Trevor Gooseby.
I need to get back to the tape. I need to get back to his tape.
Yeah, he's my tackle too, so I would consider him here. But they also need, they need a whole influx of weapons on the offense. So this is where I'm going to have. Oh man, am I going to do it? I don't think I'm going to do that.
You thought about Jeremy Bernard for a second.
I thought about Jeremy Bernard. I did. He's my next highest ranked guy. So now, you know what? I'm going to be selective here. And I think I'm going to take Denzel Boston. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to take Denzel Boston. I know they have Cedric Tillman, and both of those guys might be the kind of your X build on that side. I like Isaiah Bond. I like Isaiah Bond in the slot. I think they like Malachi Corley. They've been giving him some run that he couldn't get with the Jets. So a guy like Jeremy Bernard or Casey Concepcion probably doesn't fit, based on the personnel that they have. So I'm going to take the chance that Denzel Boston can outplay the mediocrity that's been Cedric Tillman, who's only got 1 year left under contract anyway.
Yeah, I like it.
Yep.
28 for the Niners. I think this one's pretty easy for me. I don't think Brandon Ayuk will be on this team next year. I don't think Jawan Jennings will be on this team next year. Is there a more Kyle Shanahan receiver in this class than Casey Concepcion? I don't think so. I'll take him at 28. His playmaking ability in the open field is phenomenal. So good after the catch. If this guy had better hands, I think he could go higher. But
I was just going to say the same thing. He's great with the ball in his hands, but getting the ball in his hands sometimes is the issue.
But I still think he's a first-round caliber receiver, probably closer to the back end, in my opinion. But I love this spot for him in San Francisco. They'll find ways to get him the ball, and he's going to make plays. So I'll take him at 28.
Yeah. Like I said, I have him ranked higher than Denzel Boston, but looking at the rosters, I thought that Boston might be the better fit for what they want to do there. So I'm up here. This is interesting. I think Chicago. Oh man, you know what? Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I think I just want to check to see something real quick. Yeah, this is what I'm going to do here with Chicago. I'm going to go outside the scope of what everyone keeps doing with Chicago. I'm just going to be a little creative. Listen, there's some designated pass rushers that I think can really help Chicago right now, right? I'm not touching Cassius Howell if I'm an NFL GM.
Interesting.
I'm not. Just like he's got to, I'm going to let somebody else be the one to say that he's going to be, the difference maker with that size and those short arms. Like, he'll be one of one if he does it. Romello Height is interesting. I told you I really like R. Mason Thomas as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might be the best pure designated pass rusher in the class. But there's a guy here who's film I absolutely love. It's at a position of need. And it's Emmanuel McNeil-Warren.
Yes, sir.
Now, is he first round caliber? This might be rich. Okay. But you talk about the back end of the defense and you talk about the versatility that EMW plays with. Like the downhill burst that he has. I think that I love the versatility. Like he can flip his hips and kind of be rangy, even though he does most of his, work kind of in that overhang or playing the post safety as well. He's a sure tackler coming downhill. You put it in front of him and he's going to make a move on it. He's physical. He's got the body to withstand it at 6'3", 210, 15 pounds. Again, going to be a guy that I think is a tone setter in the football, a tone setter on the football field, whether it's, making big hits, from down deep at safety or in the box, whether it's on special teams where I think this guy's going to excel. He's just a ball player. This might be rich, but considering what was on the board, if there was if TJ Parker is here, I might consider TJ Parker. I'm just not ready to take Cassius Howell or Romello Height here for the Chicago Bears. They have a need at safety. Let's go plug it with one of my favorite prospects in the class in EMW, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren.
So you're not a Caden McDonald guy?
I think Caden McDonald might be – no, I'm not. I'm not going to say I dislike him. But listen, he's very, very one note for me. He hasn't done it long enough. Kind of a flash in the pan. I don't know how well he's going to be in the later downs, getting at the passer from the interior for in the next level. I think he's more, of that 1 and 2 early down nose tackle type.
Yeah.
So
I agree. That's a pick I've made a lot for them. I love the Emmanuel McNeil-Warren pick. He's a top 40 player on my board. So I don't think this is a reach personally, but just wanted to have that McDonald discussion because looking at the board, I don't think he's going to go then if it's not to Chicago. Because at 30, I will take one of the designated pass rushers here for New England. I like Harold Landry. I don't love Harold Landry. I just don't love their edge rushers. I don't think they got a number 1 pass rush guy. I'll take Romello Height. I think he just gives me the safest. I think he's the safest bet of the 3 between R. Mason Thomas, Howell, and Height because of the measurements. I think his measurements are going to come in a little bit better than the rest of them. He's such a good speed rusher. I think he had a pretty good season defending the run quietly. He is a guy who produced at a very high level this year, 22% pass rush win rate. A guy who had, 91 total pressures on the season for Texas Tech. I really like his fit here in New England. They get a guy that can get after the quarterback, and they need it in this division with Josh Allen that they're going to have to face 2-3 times a year. So I'll take Romello Height.
Yeah. I like the fit, and I understand it a little bit because, Howard Landry, although he's getting paid a whole heck of a lot of money, he's probably on the downside of what he's looking at in career-wise. So even if Romello doesn't have to come in and play extensively in year 1, I think, you put him in a good situation where he can learn. So it makes sense there. I'm up with Denver. I know I picked him earlier before, but I think this could be a Denzel Boston spot as well. If he's available, if he does get made available, or if he's in the realm here, but he's not. So I'm going to go ahead and I look around this team, right? I think they could use an interior offensive lineman, right? Mm-hmm. So it might be a Connor Lew spot. I don't know how much somebody is going to take a center coming off of an ACL. I don't know if they're going to, really rush to get one in the first round with those scenarios. So I'm going to not take him here. I think you can make an argument, if you like a tight end, or if Sadiq is available. I think Sadiq is that joker type that would fit well here. Outside of that, I don't know how you feel about the tight end class, but I don't think there's another first round caliber guy. I love, and I think he's going to be a better pro than he was in college ever. I love Oscar Delp. He's not a day 1 guy. I don't think he's a day 2 guy, to be honest with you. But I think he's going to be a better pro than he is. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick a guy that I think is deserved of the discussion here, and that's Anthony Hill Jr., right? Okay. They drafted the kid out of Arkansas a couple years ago, right? Drew Sanders hasn't been able to stay healthy, right? You got Dre Greenlaw, you got Alex Singleton. I don't know how what their contracts look like. I don't know. And Dre Greenlaw, we know it's a little bit long in the tooth. Why not get another active middle linebacker in here? A guy that can, that can excel in coverage, a guy that flies around the field. He's got the build that you want. He 6'3", 235 pounds, something like that. So if he's fitting all the bills that, or all the things that you want to take off, what did I say? 6'3", 237, excuse me. Let him fire around, even if he's just used in nickel and dime packages as your nickel or dime back or something like that, for year 1, while he, while he cuts his teeth in the NFL. You can use him as a blitzer, but I don't think it's going to take long for Anthony Hill to really excel. I remember watching some DeMarion Overshown film a couple years back, and Anthony Hill stuck out, man, like crazy. He was young. So I think he's going to be a good player in the league. I think it's crazy also to have, in essence, 3, maybe 4 off-ball linebackers if you want to count Orville Reese go in the first round. But I think that's what this draft is. I think it's going to be a bunch of nonsense. And people are going to not necessarily, they're going to draft on talent and traits. And I think that Anthony Hill is deserving of a spot here on a Denver team, which really, credit to them, doesn't have a lot of holes.
Yeah, I think I like Anthony Hill. I still have him. Where do I have him on my board? I think I've got him at around. He's number 41 on my board.
Uh-huh.
I have Josiah Trotter from Missouri a little bit ahead of him. He's not in the simulator, but I would have considered him here. I'd considered him here for Seattle. I think they need another corner. I don't think Reek Woolen's going to be back on this team. Yeah. They've gotten some okay play from the boundary, but just continuing to add pieces to this defensive group that McDonald has done such a good job coaching. I don't know where you stand on him. I really like Brandon Cisse out of South Carolina. I'm going to take him here at 32 to round it out for Seattle. I think he gives you some different options. He's such a good athlete. I think he plays well in press. He's physical. They played him a lot more in off coverage where I thought he was good. He's got fluid change of direction, elite speed. They dialed him up as a blitzing threat. Yeah. I don't love the ball skills for him. I think that's one of my big question marks, but I like a lot of what he can bring to the table from a size, speed, athleticism standpoint. And I trust Mike McDonald to develop him. So I'll take him to finish out this first round.
Yeah. Cisse was a little hot and cold for my liking. Like I have him as cornerback 7. Okay. Yeah, but I'm not saying it's a bad pick. He's probably fits Mike McDonald's defense the best. Of the guys are like I just happen to be a real big fan of Chris Johnson and Keith Abney. I think both of them.
I love those guys too. Those guys are really, really good players. I don't think they're getting enough love.
But I think that they might be more slot specific at the next level. Whereas Cisse, I think is going to be on the boundary.
Yeah.
So let's get in. I know that's the end of round 1, but we still have to pick for the Falcons, the Colts, the Packers, and the Jaguars. So I will step up with the Falcons, right? And it's around 40-something. Again, I'm going to get one of my guys off the board. I think you want to still give Michael Penix, when he's comes back and when he's healthy, a more influx of weapons on that offense, right? You know what you have in Bijan. You know what you have in Drake London. I don't know if Kyle Pitts will be back, but I'm going to give a guy who I absolutely adore. I know I'm much higher on him than a lot of people. A lot of people don't see a special player, a special athlete in Jeremy Bernard, but I do. I love the inside-outside versatility. I think he could start as a slot, and I think he can bounce outside and play Z if you need him to in certain situations. I think he's tough as heck. He really, really strong through the catch point. Got enough wiggle. And that he doesn't need to be put into motion to release. So I'm going to go ahead and take Jeremy Bernard for the Atlanta Falcons, and I'll leave you with the Indianapolis Colts.
The Colts, I think the offensive side, like we'll see what happens at quarterback. I honestly have no idea where they're going to go, but I like a lot of what they have offensively. I think the O-line's in good shape. I like the weapons. I pray they're able to retain Alec Pierce. I think that's got to be a defensive pick. And you know what? I'll just shout out a player. I think this is around the range he would go. The Colts have the 50th pick. Let's shout out Josiah Trotter. We just talked about him as a linebacker who I really liked. 6'2", 237 pounds, started at West Virginia, now at Missouri. Quick twitch athlete, reliable tackler in the open field. I think this is a guy that can blitz. He's powerful, strong at shedding blocks in the run game. Shoots gaps really, really well. I think he might fall to around the 50th pick. He's just not the most refined coverage defender just yet. He's still so young and underclassman, but he recently declared for the class. I think he's going to shoot up draft boards. And at 50, we'll just say he's on the board there for the Colts. I'll take him at 50 for Indianapolis.
Yeah, and that would leave me up with the Packers for my last pick. And I don't know exactly where they are, but they're probably lower than the Colts. They're in the, I'd say 55 or something like that.
53.
53. There you go. And the Packers are unique because they have, there's no NFL team that follows protocol in terms of physical specifications to be even considered for the Packers. So, their receivers have to be X tall and X big. Their defensive backs have to have this, arm length of this X size, so on and so forth. You look at the team, and the Packers team is really good. There's going to be some wholesale changes. I think you can really, I think an off-ball linebacker might come into play. I don't know how long Quay Walker is for the team. I think an interior lineman can come into play, but I'm going to flip to the other side of the ball, right? I'm going to, you wanted to shout out one of your guys. I want to go ahead and shout out excuse me. I want to go ahead and shout out one of my guys. Maybe one of the most physically gifted players in this class, and I think he's going to be a perfect complement for what this team needs. And that's going to be running back LJ Martin out of BYU.
Okay.
I have him with a pure second round grade. I know he's my running back 4 in the class. He's gifted, I think he's a 3-down workhorse at 6'2", 220 pounds. He's not just a kind of a lower your shoulder guy and get at it. Like, he's got a little wiggle. I love how he plants his foot and gets vertical. I love more so what he does in pass protection, where he's, he can come right now into an NFL game and quarterbacks can feel comfortable that, his pass protection is not very passive. He'll, I think his body of work and his film is first round caliber. He just doesn't have some of that twitchiness or that third gear that you want. He doesn't have the breakaway speed.
Yeah.
But I think, for what they want, you want to have a good complement there for who's the running back? Oh my God, I just drew a blank. Josh Jacobs. I said Justin Jacobs almost. I think, want to have a good complement. And, they drafted the kid out of USC a couple years ago who just can't stay healthy. So, I wanted to give LJ Martin some love. I think he's very deserving of a second round pick. So that's who I'm going to pick for the Packers here. And you finish off with Jacksonville. This one's interesting. I want to hear it.
Jacksonville, I'll say this now. We don't have the playoff matchups right now. I think Jacksonville's going to win the AFC. I think they're the hottest team in football right now. I think they just have so many things working for them right now. I think Jacksonville's going to win the AFC. If there is a weakness, I think they could probably upgrade the interior of that defensive line a little bit. Right now, they've got Eric Armstead and Devon Hamilton in there, which they're good players. I think they could upgrade there. I think Lee Hunter is a really interesting one. I don't know if he will be on the board for them. They picked right now at 59. Lee Hunter, I think, might go top 50 with the way he played against Oregon this weekend. I think he's looked fantastic. I think they need a nose tackle in there. So let's take Big Citrus. Dominique Orange, yeah. 6'2", 325 pounds. Very similar to Caden McDonald in terms of, I don't think he's going to bring a whole lot of value on passing downs. However, I think he's a better athlete than McDonald is. But he's such a good run defender. Strong bull rush, plays low, balance to the line of scrimmage, good lateral quickness, good burst. I think he would be a really fun fit for Jacksonville's defensive front. Another athlete that can make some plays in that in the run game. So I'll take him for Jacksonville.
And is there a better nickname in college football than the Big Citrus either? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No. Well, listen, Josiah, that's our first round and then some. So I don't think there's a lot of crazy picks, a lot of crazy decisions. Maybe the craziest thing to me is that we only saw 2 quarterbacks go off the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might be.
I think the transfer portal is open. I have a feeling Ty Simpson's going to hit the portal, but that's just me.
That should be interesting, right? So, nonetheless, I'm glad we finally got to do this. I really appreciate you coming here on the podcast.
Appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, and spending some time and chopping it up, man. Why don't you go ahead and tell everyone one more time where they can find all your content?
Yeah, JWAC Gridiron on YouTube. That's JWAC Gridiron. Lots of NFL draft, college football content coming up. We've got a lot more NFL stuff coming with the offseason and 7-round mock drafts for each team. So be sure to go check that out. And hopefully I'll see you guys over there.
Yeah, and guys, again, go check out Josiah's stuff on YouTube. He's also very active at JWAC Reactions on Twitter as well, so you'll be able to see all his links there. While you're on the computer, please follow, and hit the bell for notifications for both JWAC Gridiron and for Project Prospect with Dom C. It makes everything a lot better for us and helps us out a bunch. So we appreciate it. Josiah, I appreciate you, and I'm sure before April we'll get some more time on the pod together. Maybe we'll even dabble into a 2 or 3 round mock draft one of these days. I would love that. What about you?
Yeah, I'm 100% down. Anytime you want me on here, I got you.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Folks, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching those on YouTube. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcasts. I appreciate it. Again, I'm Dom C. Follow me on Twitter at DC_NY Jets and